I want to bring to our attention achievement, publication that has been produced, and is produced for our community, mainly for our community, but it'll serve anybody who wants some help from the material that are put into this publication. And the book is called The Language of Revelation, Lugatul Tanzil, the language of translation. And it is by a brother that I've known to be dedicated and devoted to the study of Quranic Arabic and the teaching of that subject to our students and to grown-ups as well. And that is Brother Siddeeq Jihad. I think most of us know him here. Brother Siddeeq Jihad, will you please stand and face the audience? So, this is Brother Siddeeq Jihad. So I highly recommend this book for you all who are studying grown-ups, but also for our youngsters who are studying in separate organized Quranic studies classes, and who are also studying in the school system, our school system, Claire Muhammad school system, Claire Muhammad schools, and like the one in Atlanta and Washington, D.C., Chicago, and many places. I highly recommend this book, The Language of Revelation. It's Quranic, Arabic, with lessons and studies to improve your ability to read the Quran and get more understanding, and to qualify yourself, inshallah, to be a teacher one day. Because from you who are interested in Quranic Arabic, we are going to get our next generation of teachers and imams and leaders, So Allah be with you all and bless you to benefit from these wonderful projects and publications that our community is producing. This is one. We have others that I have seen, and grateful to Allah for students and scholars like our brother Siddeeq Jihad. Congratulations, my brother.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is Imam Siddeeq Jihad. You can secure the book by going to our website, www.siddeeqjihad.com. That's SIDDEEQ, Jihad, JIHAD.com. Or you can send a postal money order or any type of money order to Post Office Box 401165, Redford, REDFORD, Michigan 48240. My email address is Siddeeq, that's SIDDEEQ at MSN.com. And the phone number where we can be reached is 313-532-5246. I thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. That is, with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. All praise is due to Allah, the guardian, cherisher, evolver, and sustainer of all of the worlds and all of the systems of knowledge. If you enjoyed listening to this particular lecture, we encourage you strongly to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's Siddeeq Jihad. That's SIDDEEQ, Jihad, JIHAD. If you go to that particular channel, you'll see a red subscribe button, and we appreciate it very much if you would click on it and encourage others to do so. I thank you. Imam Siddeeq Jihad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuhu wa jannatuhu. That is the peace of God be upon you, the mercy of Allah, His blessings, and His paradise. Thank you.
We know that is the praises to Allah, the praises to Allah, the guardian, evolver, cherisher, and sustainer of all the worlds. Ashhadu, I bear witness. Nashhadu, we bear witness that there's no God but the one God, Allah alone. And we bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and his messenger. We say the wonderful phrase, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And many times you hear people say salam, and that's the noun, salam. But salama, that's the verb. And it's at the end of the sentence, or the end of the phrase. And so it suggests to our minds, as you already know, peace after peace after peace upon our noble prophet Muhammad. So remember, it's salama. And if you want to be precise and not make a slip, you can put that fatha on that meme and say salama instead of just saying salam. If you want to just take the fatha off, you say salam. So salama. Praise be to Allah. Subhanallah walhamdulillah. Wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, wa huwa al-aliyyul azim. It is Almighty God is free from all imperfection. All the praise is due to Allah. Allah is greater than anything we can imagine or do. And there's no true power, legitimate power, or might except what Allah gives. And He is the exalted, the magnificent. Magnificent sounds better than great to me. So I say magnificent. Praise be to Allah. So as I sat on the floor and I heard the brother call the adhan, we know that when the adhan has it where we say hayya ala salah, many of the traditionalists say wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. That is, there's no true power or might except what Allah gives. So we know that there is no ability for us to make contact with Allah except He allows us to do so. And also we say hayya ala falah, and we know also we say wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah wa huwa al-aliyyul azim. There is no true power or might except what Allah gives for us to have any success, any intellectual success, material success, or whatever. So most of you have heard the protocol where we should exalt Allah and address some community problem or beckoning in the second part. So inshallah, I may have a mixture of both as I speak, but I do intend to do that. Praise be to Allah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Allah says in the Quran, فَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدُ رَبِّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَرَبِّ الْأَرْضِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Then praise be to Allah, Lord of the heavens and Lord of the earth, Lord and cherisher of all of the knowledge bases, of all of the worlds, of all of the systems of knowledge. Praise be to Allah. And the next ayah concluding this surah al-Jathiyah says, وَلَهُ الْكِبْرِيَاءُ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. That is, to Him be the glory throughout the heavens and the earth, and He is exalted in power, full of wisdom. So as Muslims, we know that if anyone does anything great or say anything great, we know that Allah is greater. Allah is greater than anything, again, that we can imagine or do. Praise be to Allah. So as I go into the khutbah, I just want to mention something that many of you remember from way back when our leader, Imam Warafi Muhammad, came into the position of leadership. He talked about the knowledge of the creation. And there was an article in the paper. And he made the comment that the road to God is a physical road. And he began to tell us about, we looked at the bird and then we produced the airplane. We looked at the fish with the fins and all of that, and we produced the boat and things of this sort. And so as he began to teach us, he started constantly referring to the fact that Scripture uses physical science terms. And if a person is not appreciative of the creation and the nature of the universe that Allah has established, many times they won't be able to understand the Scripture. So as Muslims, we know that Allah uses this creation, but he also is telling us some other things other than see how I send down the rain. You know, if you say see how I send down the rain and it gives life to a dead earth, we know that he's talking about how he send down revelation to the mind of the human being and they be inspired and invigorated to do something, you see. So we know that these things are very, very prevalent in the Quran. So I want to go over to the Surah 13, inshallah. This is the year 2013, at least according to the Westerners, or the Westerners, I should say. In this particular surah, it says, I can go from here. It says, Alif Lam Ra Mim. تلك آيات الكتاب والذي أنزل إليك من ربك الحق ولكن أكثر الناس لا يؤمنون. Translated, the signs or the verses of the book, that which has been revealed unto you, speaking of Muhammad but also speaking to us, from thy Lord is the truth. And Abdullah Yusuf Ali says, but most men believe not. So we were talking last night, and right away we know that it shouldn't be men because we have women that we came from, in fact, right? So we know that this would suggest, the Nas would suggest the human being, male and female. And in some cases you can say the jinn, depending on how you look at whether the jinn is accountable morally. So Allah is beginning this particular surah telling us most of the people, they don't believe, they don't have faith, they don't have trust. So if you say most of them, he's saying over 50%, right? So we don't want to be of those who don't believe. And so in this surah, you'll see over and over again Allah contrasting believers with unbelievers. And he's telling you and I about the gardens amidst where rivers flow for the believers, and he talks about the miserable bed that the unbelievers will lie on in this life and the next. Praise be to Allah. So in continuing, he says, Allahu alladhi rafa'a as-samawati bighayri amadin tarawnaha thumma istawa 'ala al-arshi wa sakhara ash-shamsa wal qamara kullun yajri li ajalim musamma yudabbiru amra yufassilu ayati li'allakum biliqa'i rabbikum tuqinun. That is, Allah is he who raised the heavens without any pillars that you can see, without any visible supports. And that's a wonderful thing to reflect upon, how he has set up such order, you know, and how he has given the mountains as pegs to stabilize the earth. Then when you think about it, mountains erode and we make some changes on the earth and all of that, but yet the balance is still here, you know. So this being that we refer to is constantly making natural adjustments to what we do, you know, natural adjustments to keep everything stable. Praise be to Allah. In fact, in that particular ayah that I just read, it says that he regulates all affairs. That means everything. You know, you, me, the sun, the sky, the stars, everything. He's a regulator of all of it. Praise be to Allah. So it's very wonderful for us to reflect upon this great God. And he says that the reason why we should reflect upon what he has created, لَعَلَّكُمْ بِلِقَاءِ رَبِّكُمْ تُوقِنُونَ, in order that you will have a certainty in your heart and in your mind of a meeting with Allah. And the next ayah says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي مَدَّ الْأَرْضَ وَجَعَلَ فِيهَا رَوَاسِيَّ وَأَنْهَارًا وَمِنْ كُلِّ الثَّمَرَاتِ جَعَلَ فِيهَا زَوْجَيْنِ اثْنَيْنِ يُغْشِيَ اللَّيْلَ النَّهَارَ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لِآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. So here, Allah is letting us know that He gives us these messages about His creation so that we have certainty in our hearts. And then this next ayah is saying that surely there are signs for a people who yatafakkarun, who reflect and ponder. Reflect and ponder. Fakara means to think, to use your mental apparatus. And so, as you know, those who have translated this Quran, they have reflected and pondered on what would be the best English words for us to grasp. So you and I should not be dependent upon what they have done, but we want to do our own personal reflection and study of this Quran. And I was just of the mind here in recent weeks of telling believers over and over again that you don't have to become fluent in the Arabic language. All you have to do is be able to understand the structure of the language and grab the dictionaries, and you can check the translators and perhaps improve upon the English words that I use to express this wonderful message that is in Quran and Arabian. And so Allah says to us in the Quran, and we have sent down this Quran as a pure recital. Quran and Arabian, I translate it as pure recital, in order that everybody can understand. So I take that to mean that it's not so much the Arabic language, but it's the fact that it's pure and undefiled and in accord with our original nature. So all you have to do is get with the teachers of the language and get the structure and go to work with the dictionaries and keep that taqwa and that qalbun salim, that sound heart, and Allah will give you and I insight. He will give me some that He don't give you. You will be able to give me some. Allah has us situated in our minds where something strikes me and it may not strike you because of my life experiences, etc. So we need a collective effort to understand this Quran, inshallah. And then Allah, and just do the English here, and the earth are neighboring tracts, diverse, though neighboring, and gardens of vines and fields sown with corn and palm trees, growing out of single roots or otherwise, watered with the same water. Yet some of them we make more excellent than others to eat. And then He says, behold, verily in these things there are signs for those who understand. Inna fi dhalika ayatil liqaumin ya'qilun. So He said, yatafakkarun, and now He's closing this particular ayat with ya'qilun, those who use their brain power. Praise be to Allah. And in this same surah, we have the beautiful phrase that is often quoted, Inna Allaha yugayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yugayyiru ma bi anfusihim wa idha arada Allahu biqawmin su'an fala maradda lahu wa ma lahum min dunihi min wal. That is, verily Allah will never change the condition of a people until they change the condition that is within their souls or within their hearts. But when once Allah willeth a people's punishment, there can be no turning it back, nor will they find any to protect. So we know that we as an African American people, we as people in general, we have to have the right soul disposition in order for us to receive the blessings from Allah. We know that Allah says to us in the Quran, Hal jaza'ul ihsani illa al-ihsan. Is there any reward for good other than good? And we know that the answer is obviously that there is no reward for good other than good. Praise be to Allah. So in continuing, this particular surah has some coherency in it that is easily discerned. When I say coherency, I'm talking about many times we'll read the Quran and He's talking about horses in one part and then He goes into something different and we don't really see the coherency. But this one, when you read it and you study it, you'll see some great coherency. In fact, it starts out by telling us that most of the people don't believe, right? And here he's giving us all of these beckonings to look at my power, look at my strength, look at the great promise of success for you in this life and the next. And then at the end of the surah, it says, let me just get it from here. I'm trying to go from my notes and then going back there. I'll go right to the notes here. The last ayah. After all of what Allah has beckoned us to in the surah, it says, the unbelievers say, no messenger are you? You know, we're not buying what you're talking about. No messenger are you, Muhammad. And then Allah tells Muhammad what to say to them. He says, say, enough for a witness between me and you is Allah, and such as have knowledge of the book. So here we know clearly that Allah is telling you and I that we too, even though we're not messengers, we can have knowledge of the book, we can have certainty of understanding and certainty that we are on the Siratul Mustaqim, just like the Prophet. Praise be to Allah. But we can never eclipse the Prophet. We never can eclipse him. You know, so many times we like to quote the verse where it says, no doubt in the Messenger of Allah, you find the most excellent example or model, Uswatun Hasana, right? And most of us didn't say, well, I want to look up the words and find out more. Is there any more than that, you know, for this particular name or title or reference relating to this prophet? So I looked it up years ago. And uswa comes from a verbal root called asad. And it means to hurt. It means to reconcile something back together. It means to grieve. It also means to have the ability to heal yourself from wounds, mentally and physically. And we know the physical part, Allah has given it to us in our system to cause the wounds of our bodies to be healed, you know. And so he is the model because of his life. That's an open book to us. We know the history. When he was born, his father was dead, right? His mother died when he was a very, very, very young man, right? And then he went into the care of his grandfather. And then he went into the care of his uncle Abu Talib. And at the time when the thugs of Mecca was getting ready to kill him, Abu Talib died, right? But they figured, we can get him now. His uncle gone. He's the head of the tribe. We can get him now, you know. We know that the report has it that because of the boycott of the Muslims, his wife Khadijah may have died from malnutrition, right? We know that he went into the village of Taif, and the elders of the town incited the youngsters to throw rocks at him, and he came out of there, they say in the history, with blood in his sandals, right? So you look at all of these trials and all of these tribulations that he had to endure, and he still kept his original nature, right? And he gave amnesty when he came back victorious and conquered Mecca, right? So that's why he's our model, because of his ability to heal himself and not be a vengeful person, to have the ability to accept all of that persecution and still have the mind, they don't like me now, but one day they're going to see what I'm about. And if they don't see, their children will see, inshallah. So that's why he's our uswa, because of his ability to endure and to keep his original nature in spite of all of the hell and problems that the people gave him. We know that this Messenger of Allah was wounded in battle. And here's the Messenger of Allah. You would think that, the Irish one of us say, well, I'm the Messenger of Allah, you going to let me get hurt? You know. We know that he was poisoned, right? All kinds of things happened to him, but again, he kept his original nature. So when we have our little problems here and there, we should remember that the messenger of Allah, who was the most pious and devoted man to ever live, he suffered a lot more than I'm suffering, or a lot more than we're suffering, inshallah. All right. So I just want to talk to you for a few moments about faith, which is iman, and then ilm, which is knowledge, and taqwa, and also mercy. I remember years ago, Imam Muhammad said to us, he said, when the baby comes into the world, the baby don't say, give me Allah, give me Allah. The baby says, give me milk, right? The baby wants that warmth of the mother's body. The baby wants her or his diaper changed. The baby wants the physical comforts and pleasures, right? So then, after a time, the baby begins to inspect and find out what's going on, touching the telephone knob and the TV buttons and, very exploratory, right? And then when the baby gets a little bit too exploratory, the mother and dad say, hey, don't do that. And then the baby may not register why, But if you, let's say, were to have a fire from an iron and happens to get close to the baby puts in his own mind, I don't want that touching my face. The baby has these kind of consciousness as it grows up, So you can see there's a connection between the faith and the knowledge and the morality. That's the point I want to make to you. Faith, morality, and knowledge, or faith, knowledge, and morality, they go together. They go together. So what happens many times as we get, into school, they'll tell us things like the cow jumped over the moon, the Santa Claus story, not amongst Muslims, but, they give us these kinds of things to get us to have a false sense of what reality is. Okay? So then we come into the religious order. The Imam called it Bible fairy tales, where the average Christian believes that this 150-pound man, Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus the son of Mary, walked on water. Right? Things like this, causing you to ignore your scientific knowledge base and accept something that is non-reality. Amongst the Muslims, if you say to a person, hey, God sent down the Quran on a mountain, you saw it humble itself and break into pieces for fear of its Lord. Such are the parables that we beat into the consciousness of the human being in order that they will reflect and ponder. A person will tell you, yes, if Allah wanted to take the Quran that was on sheepskin or gazelle skin, it could blow up a mountain, for real, So that's a Quran fairy tale if you believe that, And how am I qualifying this? Allah said that He sent this Quran as guidance for the human being, not guidance for the mountain. The mountain does not have the mental apparatus to understand the ramifications of this Quran. So obviously it has to be a metaphor or a parable. And not only that, if you understand the Arabic language somewhat, you know that the lao that is in front of that verse means if I were to do this, hypothetically. But I'm not going to do it. There's no point in me doing that. Because, the mountain blowing up will cause instability in the earth too. Right? Praise be to Allah. So these are the kind of things that you and I need to look at and understand the language for ourselves so we can discern and get the utility out of ayahs such as this. Another beautiful one is, and if all of the trees were pens and all of the seas were ink, and you added 7 oceans there too, ma nafidat kalimatullah, and you cannot exhaust the wisdom of Allah. So right away you know that Allah is not going to change the trees and the pens because He puts lao in front of it anyway as a marker. Don't be going off into thinking this is some reality, Then you have some Muslims that take the same mind as the Christian. Well, with God all things are possible. But I always like to tell them, with God some things are impossible because He won't let them happen. Right? So we can give them the same thing, Yeah, you could say everything is possible. Sometimes you could say also that some things aren't possible because he won't allow them to happen, because he does what? He regulates all affairs. Praise be to Allah. So that's particular. I remember having the mind that that ayah is there in opposition or in affront to the Bible language, where it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word took on flesh. So they're telling you in that particular logos in the Bible language in John that God is a Word. If they say Jesus took on the Word and he was flesh, so he's saying God is in Jesus as a Word. But we know the Quran says that Jesus was a Word, but never said Allah was a Word. So Allah is saying to us, I believe, you can write words and words forever and ever. You'll never be able to get to me with that kind of effort. Praise be to Allah. So I'm telling you and I that if you increase your faith and you increase your knowledge, it's going to help your morality. You know, if you wrestle with this problem, wrestle with that problem, get more knowledge. And by getting more knowledge, inshallah, you'll get more faith. We'll get more faith. You see, there's an ayah in the Quran where it says that when new knowledge, right, comes to the believers, it adds faith to the faith that's already there. You know? So I always like to let people know that you can pursue this material world and say, well, I don't have time to be studying this Quran. But hey, in order for you to get the material, you got to have some faith and some guidance and some protection from Allah in order for you to get that which you want or I want materially. You see? In other words, we have to remember, as Allah has said in the Quran, and the Imam addressed this many, many ways over the years, that we all were created from water. Right? Water. And he mentioned the water as being the moral nature. Right? And he talked about how if you got a puddle there, you got dirt and water mixed together. We call that what? Mud, right? We got mud there. So you go back a few hours later, all you see is dirt. So you ask the question, where did the water go? And the Imam mentioned to us that Allah, given us science that we already know from school, raises up the water in a fine mist, right? And it joins up in the clouds. Then Allah causes the lightning to strike the cloud and send down the rain purified, right? So the human being's nature is to rise up, right? And then rain back down, helping the society, helping our brothers, helping our sisters, coming up with new inventions, new discoveries, making it more comfortable for us to live here on the earth. Praise be to Allah. So in the Suratul Mulk, there's a beautiful section of verses where it says, what if you woke up one morning after having a water bed in front of your home and the water went underground? It didn't say it went up. It said it went underground. Then Allah asks you and I the question, concluding that surah, I believe it's 67. Who then can supply you or I with clear flowing water? So what is Allah saying? If you take what the Imam said and you accept that water is the moral nature, you'll know that this is saying that your moral nature went completely underground and was dismissed from your being. What would you be able to do if you didn't have a moral nature? What would I be able to do if I didn't have a moral nature? I mentioned sometime before, if you got hungry and you saw your brother and you knew that meat and flesh was tasty or could help you sustain your life, you would just walk up and cut off your brother's arm and eat his arm, because you would have no moral judgment on what you should do or not do. You would have that Oedipus Rex complex, maybe. Y'all know what I'm talking about that. You won't know what to do with yourself. So Allah is saying to us that the moral nature that we have is very, very precious, and we don't want it to go underground, right? We want it to rise up in the fine mist and rain back down, inshallah. So after all of this quest for having faith and acquiring knowledge and having this sense of taqwa and reverence for God, we know that we can never be perfect beings, and so we have to look for what? The mercy of God. The mercy. He says that he is al-afu, the one who blots out sins again and again. We know that in the Surah Al-Qari'ah, it says, Al-Qari'ah, the day of noise and clamor, right? Mel-Qari'ah, and what is this day of noise and clamor? And then he says, and what will explain to you what the day of noise and clamor is? So right away, you and I, if we have faith, we'll accept that Allah has explained it in that surah what this day is. And he's going into it so beautifully, telling you and I what it is. He says, وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَإِثْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ. And it is a day where the human beings will be like moths scattered about. وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَإِثْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ. The commentators say that the idea of moths scattered about is suggesting a lot of diversity and clashing, bumping into one another, killing one another. All of that's happening too, right? Diversity of ideology. You know, the Shiites, the Sunnis, the Nation of Islam, the Kurds, and all the denominations of Christianity. Some of them are Unitarian, some of them believe Jesus is the Son of God, right? But some of them don't believe that, the Unitarians, you know. So this is giving you and I the picture that this day of Al-Qari'ah is a day of great diversity of thought and ideology, morality levels and all of that. The whole hit in terms of what diversity and confusion would be about. Then it says, فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ, then he whose balance of good deeds will be found heavy, فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ, he will be in a state of pleasure. So let's go back for a moment. And the mountains will be like carded wool. Look at that. A mountain is hard, right? Granite and all of that. So you're saying that Allah going to pull an Alakazam trick, if you want to call it that, and take that hard substance and turn it into something soft like wool. If you took it literally, that's what it's saying. And carded would suggest that it's ordered. It's manageable. So I looked this word up. Mountains. I believe Allah has blessed me to understand something about it, you know. I didn't get it from the mutafassirs or anything like that. I just started studying it and I came up with some thoughts about it. And so when you look at the mountain, look at its properties. A mountain has what? Stability, right? A mountain has longevity. It's going to be around for a while. We don't blow it up with explosives. So when you look at the soul or the nafs of the human being, it too has longevity. So in the physical world, the biggest thing that we know of in one piece right there before our eyes on this earth is a mountain, like Mount Everest. The biggest piece that we know of, right? But in the spiritual world, the thing that we know, other than Allah, that has non-physical longevity is the soul of the human being. Allah says that the soul will dwell khalidina fiha. I just like how that sounds, you know. You will dwell in it forever. Abada, forever. Right? So we know that when you and I get blown up in the plane and we murdered 100 people, we still know that that soul will be there and we will be able to get our book, our record before Allah, and we go to 7734, that's my left hand, right? 7734, or we go to the Jannah, we go to the heaven, right? As we reflect upon this surah, it tells you and I that this mountain, or this soul, listen to me, being carted off would suggest order. In other words, my soul would be carted off from yours. What I did from the day I was born to the day I die will be in a record, right? It's not going to be any confusion between your record and my record, you know. Here's my record, here's your record, carted off just like the fine lines in this kufi. And right after that happens, then Allah tells you and I that he who is balanced of good deeds will be found heavy. If your good deeds are heavier than your bad, فَهُوَ فِي إِشَيْتِ رَادِيَةٍ. And so he will be in a state of pleasure. So she will be in a state of pleasure. And then it gives the contrast, right? فَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. But he whose balance of good deeds will be found light. فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. And so his mother is the bottomless pit. Abdullah Yusuf Ali says, will have his home in a bottomless pit. Like the mother is not going to be there. So that's a clear error in this translation, not letting you and I know or have the mind that if I do go to hell, it's still going to be a nurturing agent there in the hell to bring me back out to the original nature that Prophet Muhammad kept all of his life. But then when we look at Prophet Muhammad, he was not an angel being, right? Allah had to check him and whatnot, and a lot of Muslims, you tell them that the Prophet wasn't an angelic being. We know the Prophet was perfect. Then there's evidence right in the Quran to tell you that he frowned on the blind man and he wanted more women. Allah said, if those women, you might desire these women, but don't take on any more wives, right? So Allah had to check him and tell him what to do and what not to do at various times. When he first got to Revelation, he would spend all night and his feet got sore, and Allah told him, don't spend all of the night, spend a little of the night or a part of it. Because you got some duties, Muhammad, to tend to when you get up, you know. So he gave him some nurturing things to build him up. He didn't just walk out and say, hey, I'm a perfect being and I don't have any growing to do. And I say that in light of knowing that some of us think that W.D. Muhammad, you know, he didn't have a growing process. I can remember years ago listening to a khutbah. In fact, recently I listened to it, where he didn't say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, merciful redeemer. He grew into the saying that, or coming with that understanding. So we all have a growth process. Praise be to Allah. So if you're following the flow of what I'm saying, that's telling you and I that if our good deeds are, let's say, 51, and our bad deeds are 49, we can go to paradise. Right? But the problem is, right, you and I do not know what Allah is going to accept as a good deed and what he's going to punish us for and what mercy he's going to render to us for any slips or falls that we engage in. Right? So that means that you and I should focus on trying to do as many good deeds as pile them up, pile them up, pile them up, pile them up, per chance that the bad ones, he'll give us mercy. Allahumma nasta'inuka wa nastaghfiruka wa nu'minu bika wa natawakkalu alayka wa nufni alayka wakaya wa nashkuruka wa la nakfuruka. Oh Allah, we seek your help, we ask your forgiveness. We believe you, we believe in you, we trust in you, we extol and exalt you in the best manner. We are thankful to you, Allah, and we are not ungrateful. Allahumma nasta'inuka, as I said, oh Allah, we ask for your help. So I know that the focus this weekend is the religion equals social responsibility and economic empowerment, right? And so when I think of the social responsibility, I think of the fact that you and I all have an obligation to try to be as goody two-shoe as we can, right? Try to be honorable with one another, try to work with one another, and always have the focus that we are khalaqakum min nafsin wahida, that Allah has created us all from one soul, right? So if you haven't arrived as a Muslim to the idea that even though this brother right here didn't come out of your mother's womb, that he's your brother, then you haven't yet come to Islam. You should love your brother's children, your sister's children, your aunt's children, as though they are your very own. Right? So could you imagine how it would be if we really, I'm talking about as a ummah worldwide, had the mind that we are brothers? So obviously it hasn't arrived in enough of us, because we see that there's money amongst us. You know, we got Muslims with big money, right? But they haven't pooled those resources together for their brothers and their sisters to do more than what we have done to help knock out the misconceptions that they are bombarding the world with about Muslims. You see? So when we speak of social responsibility, we also speak of the fact that you and I have an obligation to spread Islam, to do da'wah. It's a command from Allah in the Quran that we do this. And I know from my experience going this place and that place that we have not done enough. We have not done enough to spread Islam. I remember Bilal the poet. He made the comment. He said, this is Ahmed Karim Bilal speaking. He said, I believe that if Prophet Muhammad was here today, he would have an international TV network. That's what he said. I agree. You know, could you imagine how the Prophet would say, man, I don't have to send the emissaries here and there. I can just zoom al-Islam on the TV, you know. So I encourage you, as I encourage myself, to speak to those who got those deep pockets and say, well, let's get us a TV station, or let's get us a radio station, you know. So when we speak of the social responsibility, we know that if I have something that is beneficial to you, I should be willing to share it. If you have a skill that is beneficial to the people, you should teach the youth. You should teach the people. You should solicit Muslims to be employed by you. But a lot of times people say, well, the worst kind of people you should have working for you is your family and the people who are close. You know, people say that too, right? But it's all about whether or not they have worked on what? Their iman, and they have worked on their knowledge, and they have this reverence and for God where they won't take anything from you. So those are the kind of people you want to have, you know. And we know Allah makes it plain that, you know, you have some people that aren't even fit for the social order. He calls them, I'm talking about a lot of stuff here. He calls them zanim in the Surah 68. You get a chance to look at the word zanim. And I looked it up, and it means like a goat who has a little earring-like things on his ears. I haven't been around a lot of goats. But goats have little, what they call wattles on their ears. As far as they know, scientifically, it has no value for the goat. Just a little piece of skin or flesh there, you know. So Allah is telling you and I in that surah that there are people that have no use in the social order. None, right? And then He gives you some other character types before that, you know. So we know, as Allah says also, that some people are what? Fuel for the fire, right? And He tells us, save ourselves from the fire and our families. That are men and stones, right? So this word cool, it sounds like the sound of the pigeon, pardon me. It means save yourself. It's a command from Allah. So He's telling you that the formula, telling us that the formula to save ourselves is to have taqwa, to try to do what you can to increase your taqwa and your family's taqwa. This is a command. Cool. And it comes from the root waka, right? So the solution and the answer to, you know, us making it to the Jannah is to have taqwa. And as I mentioned, to get the taqwa, we have to have knowledge and we have to have faith. And according to the hadith, it says that all the things that Allah has given the human being, He has given him reason and knowledge. So that knowledge is supposed to deal with all of the other things that we have in our life to make it to the Jannah. So I mentioned the coherency of the Quran, and I just want to mention this book to you. It's called The Coherence of the Quran by Mustad Samir. Mir, M-I-R. He's a professor at Youngstown State. And he gives you and I pointers to see the Quran as a collective and see it as having coherency. And he gives examples and all of that. All right? So I want to close by showing you in the Surah Adiyah the coherency that is there. Before I do that, I want to mention, I already mentioned it somewhat, but I want to mention a little bit more about the economic empowerment. Imam Waqti Muhammad years ago encouraged us to do some collective buying and all of that. And we know that we had some untrustworthy people that were around doing this and doing that and caused a lot of problems. In fact, there's people right now that are owed money for suits that they didn't get paid for. They didn't get the suits nor the money, you know. So even though that happened, and there's an atmosphere of mistrust amongst us, somehow a group of us are going to have to rally together and say, we're going to bind ourselves together and we're not going to take a dime. You my brother, you my sister, we're not going to take any money, you know. And so that reminds me of the story in the Quran as I try to go to the close. The story in the Quran talks about how the Muslims came and they wanted to make Hajj, right? And the Meccans say, we're at war with you all. You're not getting up in here for no Hajj, you know. And so they sent Uthman, right, to talk with them. And it was a long period of time, and he didn't return for a while. They said, well, wow. It's almost like the story is giving it that they had the mind that if they killed our brother Uthman, we're going in there, you know, to deal with these folks, you know. And so Allah tells you and I in the Surah 48, and they swore fealty under the tree, right? It says that they put their hands on top of each other's hands, and the prophet put his hand on top of theirs, just like we do in basketball. If you play any basketball, that's the way we do it, right? The coach put his hand on the top of the rest of the hands, right? And then Allah says in the Quran that Allah's hand was over their hand, right? And then if you read the story and read the history, when they made the commitment that day, that's when they started getting victory after victory after victory. Because they made the commitment that we're going to live and die for each other. I might be talking in a utopian way, but that's the way I feel right now. And I have never been a person that want to stop my brother from doing this and stop my brother from doing that, you know. There's nothing I've done that I know of that want to cause any problems. I do know that if I see a crook or something, my tongue has been loose when I see crookery. You know, I do know that. People will tell you that, you know. I pick at the masjid and sent letters this place and that place, you know. I have done those kind of things. So if anybody don't like me, it should be the crooks. You know, it should be them, not the good people, you know, that are here, you know. Brother was murdered in Detroit, and I went to Chicago and told, you know, stuff like this, you know. I've had this kind of spirit. Do you all have it? Do you all want to get behind the imam here and start doing some collective buying, some collective work? I'm trying to work on it now in Detroit. My son is the imam of the masjid now. Praise be to Allah. So things are open a little bit more for me to do a little more. So we're trying to get off into buying our food together, going to the same cleaners to get our clothes cleaned. Anything that we can do together, we're trying to do it. And I think that's social empowerment there. Economic empowerment too, you know. So these are the kind of things I encourage you to do. And I've been many places, and I know that from my experience here in Memphis, you have some quality brothers and some quality sisters that I don't see in other places that I go. You know, not that I'm one who knows their heart completely, but I do have some human perception. And I'm sure you do too, you know, have some human perception. So Allah gives you and I the command. Attaqullaha wa kunu ma'as-sadiqin. And have reverence for God and be with those who have truth, honor, and taqwa. That's a command from Allah to do that. So should we be waiting on people to come to the point of doing the right thing? I don't think so. We got to get with the people who ready to go and go with it. Okay, so let me just talk about Al-Adiyah. I'm going to be closing in a minute here. I don't know what I do with those. Oh, here they are. Those glasses. Okay. First of all, I just want to mention this to you. I hope I didn't talk about too much where you're not following the flow. I'm trying to talk loud and throw a few bombs here and there so you follow what I'm talking about. So if I haven't been clear, I hope that the tape will help you later. So here in this surah, first of all, it's 100, right? So if I say to you, man, I'm going to give you 100%. That means I'm going to give you my all, right? So that's what the horse does, right? The Imam told us years ago, I had never been around horses that much, maybe a little pony at the zoo or something, you know. And they say the Imam said, a horse will run himself to death if you keep beating them, right? Just keep beating them. I didn't know that, you know. Then the Imam mentioned about how, you know, they got the engine of a lawnmower or whatever, 3 horsepower, 10 horsepower. They using this term of the reality of what the horse does. If you run it more than 3 horsepower, it's going to kill over and die, right? So the surah says, well, adiyati dabaha, and by the horses or by the swift camels that run with the panting breath, like that, right? Why are they doing that? To get more oxygen into their lungs so they can continue to go faster and faster, inshallah. And it says, wa muriyati kaddaha, and they strike sparks of fire. This is the idea of a midnight, pursuit into a battle. The sparks of the hoofs be bringing fire out. So if the enemy is down the road or in the desert or wherever, somebody's coming, right? So here it is, this fearless horse is giving signs to your foe, we're coming. And then it says, فَمُغِيرَاتِ subaha, and they push home the charge in the morning. They're still coming in the morning. It started at night, they're still coming in the morning. And then it says, فَأَثَرْنَا بِهِ نَقَعًا, and they raise the dust in the clouds. In other words, that's another sign to the foe. Somebody is coming, right? And then it says, فَوَسَطْنَا بِهِ جَمْعًا, and they penetrate forthwith into the midst of the foe. Very poetic. En masse, Abdullah Yusuf Ali says. The term is jam'a. This is Jum'ah, right? Congregation, all together. Ejma'in, all together. So you can imagine a cavalry with horses and all of them coming together, dealing with the foe, right? But one of the things about the horse, he'll let a wicked criminal ride him, or he'll let a good pious person ride him. He's submissive, right? And it's so beautiful if you study the word, well, adiyati, coming from adawa. Excuse me, adawa. I'll be finished in a minute, inshallah. And adawa is the root of aduwan mubin, an open enemy, right? So adawa, the root itself means to go from transition to transition to transition, right? That's what the horse does, right? Start out in the morning, he'll go through water, he does whatever you tell him to do. Shaitan got the same kind of properties, right? He's on your right, he's on your left. Wherever you go, he want to get into the mix. Shaitan. And when we speak of shaitan, we're talking about people, as the Imam said, weak ideas and wrong thinking. Those kind of things will be there to try to, pull you off your square. Cigarette commercials, liquor commercials, same-sex marriage, whoever is the proponents of that, that's shaitan for sure, right? Okay. So you see that the horse has that nature of transition. That's why we say, well, adiyati, coming from adawat. All right. Okay. So then they penetrate into the midst of the foe. Jam'a, they're ready to jam, if you want to use that kind of language. And then the tenor of the surah changes. Now here's where the coherency comes in at, what I was talking about. It says, Innal insana li rabbihi lakanud. Truly the human being. Abdullah Yusuf Ali says man. Truly the human being is ungrateful to his Lord. Lakanud. That means extremely ungrateful. The loud intensity in front of it, right? Lakanud. Could have just said kanud. But Allah said lakanud. And he says, Wa innahu ala dhalika la shahid. And to that fact, the human being bears witness by what he does. And then he says, وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لَشَدِيدٌ. And violent, Abdullah Yusuf Ali says, is he in his love for wealth. I beg to differ with violent. I see it clearly saying, and surely he, Lee, in respect to the love of good, strong. Give me good, Allah. Give me good, Allah. And the hadith has it that a man came to the Prophet and his speech was haram, his clothes was haram, everything about him was haram. And he was saying, I want the blessings of Allah. So here it is, Allah is telling you and I that we are ungrateful and we bear witness by what we do. And then he says, and we are strong in wanting good. So you can see how Allah is giving you the contrast, giving me the contrast. I have given you a horse who is your abd, right? Who is your slave. He gives his life for you, right? So the connection is you human being, we as human beings should give our life to Allah. And we said it in the first. Surely my life and my sacrifice is all for Allah, right? So this is what we're talking about here, inshallah. So you see the connection there. And then Allah asks the question in closing it. أَفَلَا يَعْلَمُ بُؤْثِرَ مَا فِي الْقُبُورِ. Does he not know when that which is in the graves is scattered abroad? No, he's talking about, don't this human being know there's a judgment for all of this deviation, all of these crazy deeds, bad deeds, you know? And it says, وَحُسِلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ. And that which is locked up in the human breast is made manifest. And then it says, إِنَّ رَبَّهُمْ بِهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَخَبِيرٌ. That their Lord had been well acquainted with them, even to that day. So going back to what we said a moment ago, how knowledge of the creation and all of that, when you see a horse, you should remember to be grateful, right? When you see a pigeon, when you hear that noise, you should remember to have taqwa. So Allah gives us all kind of signs in the creation to cause us to be more conscious and aware of Him, you see. So I pray Allah that I did say something of a benefit for you all. And we know that Allah says that He's El-Mu'min, the believer. He believes in us. And He knows our abilities and our capabilities. And we know that He is helping us and will continue to help us if we make the intent. So one more statement I want to make is about Palm Sunday. It's coming up, I think, this Sunday, right? And so if you all were around, years ago, the Imam Muhammad mentioned this real quickly, that when the donkey came into Jerusalem and Jesus was on the donkey, there were palm leaves on the ground. And he told us, I never saw a palm tree, except a few up in Florida, but they say the fruit and some palm trees are way up high. You got to go way up to the top to get, the fruit from the palm tree, right? So he was saying that he saw that as a symbol that the knowledge on high, by at least being on the ground, is a symbol that the masses have got the ilm, right? The victory, and got the ilm, the knowledge, religious knowledge, scientific knowledge, all of the knowledge. So that is the goal of the Muslims, to have the masses of the people have the knowledge on high. To have all of the people as students of the Quran. You know that? You say, well, I leave that to the Imam. You should be a student of the Quran. If you want to believe what Allah said in this Quran and you want to have it empower you in your religious life, in your material life, your spiritual life, you should be a student of this Quran. All of us. Don't just say, well, we just leave it to the ulama or to the scholars. Everybody should be a student of the Quran. We should be Taliban. You hear that? I said Taliban, So a lot of us don't know what Taliban means, right? Taliban means what? A student, what? Forever, though. Forever. Yeah, that's what they were saying. We are students forever. Taliban. Good word, good meaning. Got a fatatain on it because it has the adverbial idea of continuation. I'm closing. When the Afghans and Osama bin Laden and all of them was fighting the Russians, they gave them the name what? Mujahideen, right? Mujahid means one who's striving, against a force that's working against them, right? But by putting it in what we call the object of the verb case, Mujahideen, they didn't say Mujahidun, Mujahideen suggested we are freedom fighters forever, letting them know that y'all can keep coming and coming and coming, and we're going to keep fighting and fighting and fighting, you see. So the message is right in the name that you ain't going to take over Muslims. You can't just take Muslims and say, well, we're going to just capitulate and be a slave to y'all. That's not the nature of the Muslim to do that, you see. So they know that. They just want to keep it going on and on and on.
I want to bring to our attention achievement, publication that has been produced, and is produced for our community, mainly for our community, but it will serve anybody who wants some help from the material that are put into this publication. And the book is called The Language of Revelation, Lugatul Tanzil, the language of translation. And it is by a brother that I've known to be dedicated and devoted to the study of Quranic Arabic and the teaching of that subject to our students and to grown-ups as well. And that is Brother Siddeeq Jihad. I think most of us know him here. Brother Siddeeq Jihad, will you please stand and face the audience? So, this is Brother Siddeeq Jihad. So I highly recommend this book for you all who are studying grown-ups, but also for our youngsters who are studying in separate organized Quranic studies classes, and who are also studying in school system, our school system, Claire Muhammad school system, Claire Muhammad schools, and like the one in Atlanta and Washington, D.C., Chicago, and many places. I highly recommend this book, The Language of Revelation. It's Quranic, Arabic, with lessons and studies to improve your ability to read the Quran and get more understanding, and to qualify yourself, inshallah, to be a teacher one day. Because from you who are interested in Quranic Arabic, we are going to get our next generation of teachers and imams and leaders, So Allah be with you all and bless you to benefit from these wonderful projects and publications that our community is producing. This is one. We have others that I have seen, and grateful to Allah for students and scholars like our brother Siddeeq Jihad. Congratulations, my brother.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Imam Siddeeq Jihad. You can secure the book by going to our website, www.siddeeqjihad.com. That's SIDDEEQ, Jihad, JIHAD.com. Or you can send a postal money order or any type of money order to Post Office Box 401165, Redford, REDFORD, Michigan 48240. My email address is Siddeeq, that's SIDDEEQ @msn.com. And the phone number where we can be reached is 313-532-5246. I thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. That is, with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. All praise due to Allah, the guardian, cherisher, evolver, and sustainer of all of the worlds and all of the systems of knowledge. If you enjoyed listening to this particular lecture, we encourage you strongly to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's Siddeeq Jihad. That's SIDDEEQ Jihad, Jihad. If you go to that particular channel, you'll see a red subscribe button, and we appreciate it very much if you would click on it and encourage others to do so. I thank you, Imam Siddeeq Jihad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuhu wa jannatuhu. That is, the peace of God be upon you, the mercy of Allah, His blessings, and His paradise. Thank you.